Welcome to the Innovators and Investors Podcast. I'm Kristian Marquez, founder and CEO of FinStrat Management. At FinStrat, we provide CFO-led accounting, finance, and reporting services to assist clients monetize their business. Stick around to the end of the podcast and I'll share how you can be our next guest. Now on to the show. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Innovators and Investors Podcast. I'm your host, Kristian Marquez, founder and CEO of FinStrat Management. Super excited because with us today we have Brad DiPaolo, founder and CEO of CandidateHub. Brad, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. So super excited to talk through about CandidateHub and your experience as a founder. So to kick things off, if you could share with the audience the problem CandidateHub is solving, that'd be great.
I think it's no secret that everyone is struggling to find candidates in recruitment these days. There doesn't seem to be a middle ground between I don't have any applicants or I have way too many applicants. And we came up with the idea of CandidateHub when I was talking to recruiters during the pandemic and kept asking them what is it they want. And they kept saying they just want qualified candidates in their inbox every day. And my initial response was, yeah, well, I just want $1 million. But the more I got thinking of it, I was like, wait a minute, we do this in B2B sales. We give SDRs leads every day based on consumer behavior. And we do this in e-commerce. We continually, based on consumer behavior, bring people back into the fold until they buy our product. Why are we not doing this for recruitment? Why are we not making the journey far more personable, far more enjoyable for candidates, and helping recruiters identify candidates that are qualified, candidates that are engaged and interested in having a conversation? So we've taken a combination of e-commerce style strategies with traditional marketing automation and created sort of a supercharged candidate engagement platform that allows recruiters to nurture candidates that have shown some form of interest in their organization in the past, whether it's as simple as they've been on a job board looking at a job posting once, or they actually applied for a job and just weren't hired. There's tons of data we have around these candidates and we don't do anything with it. Let's say you and I were both up for the same position and you got hired over me. That position comes available in 6 months. Why do I need to start the whole process over again? I've got candidates that I went through the process with 6 months ago. But that's just the way recruitment works. We start from scratch. We don't go back to the ATS. We don't go back to candidates we've dealt with in the past. So our platform allows companies at scale to nurture and create personalized journeys and content for candidates so that they keep coming back and recruiters can have the right conversations with the right candidates at the right time.
So it makes great sense. My sense today is so much of business is relationship driven, in part because just the overwhelming amount of information that is coming at us on a daily basis. And so I think the premise is brilliant. So what's been some of the mechanisms so diving into the product, what are some of the mechanisms by which Candidate creates and maintains engagement?
We currently do a variety of different campaign types, whether it's email or text message type campaigns. And not just a simple, if you look at a MailChimp of the world, where you do a 3-sequence email and say, did they open the email? Did they click on the link? Kind of criteria. And if they didn't, then send them a follow-up email. And if they didn't, send them a follow-up email. We can take engagements that a candidate provides to us. And then based on that, we can segment, we can filter, we can run campaigns, we can move them from campaign to campaign. We lead score them. So the more engaged they are, the higher their score is. We know that they're highly engaged candidates, and we can really just create a more natural journey for candidates. So I'll give you an example. We have a client that goes to a lot of job fairs. And so they would go to a job fair, You would scan the badge based on, you've been to, I'm sure, enough conferences that you have the app and you scan the badge and you can download your contact list. And so then they come back and they got to try to remember everybody they talked to, send follow-up emails and all this stuff. And so we just created a simple campaign where we created a QR code that went to a landing page that just had a form that said, give me your name, phone number, email address. That's it. That's all we asked for. And so candidates would scan the QR code, put in that information, and now we have them as a contact. We sent them an automated email a day later. Great to meet you at the job fair. Look to get some more information from you. Can you please fill out this form and give us this additional information? The amount of time it saved that company was like 85% of the time it took them to follow up with those candidates. And their engagement, their response from candidates went increased by 1,000%.
Wow.
So it's just taking existing behaviors and using automation and different communication channels to allow the candidates to communicate and the company to communicate at scale.
I think it makes great sense. And obviously being focused on a return on investment, being able to clearly articulate it, really valuable. So let's build on that. Holy grail for any early stage businesses to achieve product market fit. Would love to hear your philosophy of how you bridged the gap between your initial vision of CandidateHub and how you got to today after you started working with different recruiters.
That, yeah, product market fit is what we all dream about, right? But I think the most important, even more important, I think, than product market fit is product solution fit. And that was in 2023, we hit that pivot point of figuring out our product solution fit and identifying exactly what sort of features recruiters were looking for, companies were looking for, our messaging, our positioning, our website, like all of that stuff is really important to figure out how your product solves a particular problem in the market. Until you figure that out, you have no hope of ever getting product market fit. And so now we've got that figured out, which was a lengthy journey. And now we're working more towards implementing some of that stuff that we figured out so that we can get to product market fit. And one of the things that we figured out is that recruitments aren't marketers, which we knew, but coming up with campaigns and figuring out how to pull all of this together is a real stumbling block. And so we're working towards making that ridiculously easy for them so that with a couple of clicks and a few prompts with AI, they can create an email campaign or a Facebook campaign or a LinkedIn campaign or whatever. So I think for us to achieve that product market fit, that's the sort of stumbling block that we're at right now. Is we know that our product will solve the problem, but we're in the stage where we're more of a service as a software as opposed to a software as a service.
Sure.
And so we need to figure out how to automate on our back end and create some tools that make it super ridiculously easy for recruiters. And I think as soon as we have that, then we'll hit that product market fit.
Have you trademarked product solution fit? I like it.
No, I completely stole it, so I can't trademark it. But yeah, it is important. Product solution fit is probably more important to me than I think product market fit, because if you don't know how to articulate the problem that you're solving, you have no hope in hell.
And so I think that's really well said. And I think that dovetails well into this idea of being purely automated is the ideal state. But I've spoken to no shortage of early stage companies that have to include humans in the loop in the initial stages of their product. And I'm curious, notwithstanding the need to do dev work, have you found that just having customer success staff engaging clients on a regular basis has just also been invaluable?
100%. Yeah. That's another one that I stole, was software as a service as a software, as opposed to, I run a SaaS company, service
Sure.
as a software. A lot of early stage companies, that's what you need to do. You need to, the old adage, fake it until you make it kind of thing. But like I heard of stories where, people, there was this couple of guys that were selling a Keurig type product for making alcoholic drinks. And basically to demo their product at trade shows, they had somebody hidden underneath the table with a bucket full of drinks, pre-made drinks, and you'd put a pod in and you push it and they'd be like, oh, you want a martini? And then the guy would put the hose in the martini bucket, right? Like you have to do some of those types of things in early stage. It's just you got to do what you got to do to scrape by. And having that daily, like our biggest client, as a CEO, I'm the one talking to them every day because I'm learning a lot from them. I'm doing a lot of the work for them, but it helps me to understand where their challenges are, where their pain points are, and how our product is solving those, so that we can then take that and duplicate it. And then as you get good at solving that problem, then you figure out, how do I automate part of it or get the software to do that so that I don't have to have a person doing that? Or can I build this in so that I'm not using third-party connections to other tools to do it, and things like that. Like, it's all stuff that you have to do early stage, that you do it to learn, you do it to survive, and you do it so that you can make your product ultimately better by figuring out exactly what is being used, what's not being used, and how it needs to happen.
Yeah, I'd like to think that the early stage ecosystem is matured to the point where there's consensus that being hands-on as a founder is it's critical. I'd like to think there aren't a lot of founders who are delegating that activity wholesale.
I would hope not. Don't get me wrong. There's lots of stuff I would love to be able to delegate, like sales. I'd love to be able to delegate sales off, but as a founder, I need to be involved in it. Founder-led sales are important for a lot of reasons. But yeah, and that's why a lot of people just don't make it in entrepreneurship, is because they're a widget maker and they think, I'll just start my own company making widgets and I'll make more money. But they don't realize that when you do that, you have to do everything at the beginning, and you're everything from janitor to CEO. That's a big struggle as a founder, and it can get pretty lonely and pretty stressful. But it's important to get through those sort of early day struggles to be able to make it. You look at Google and Apple were started in a garage. Steve Jobs didn't walk in and all of a sudden have $1 million company underneath them. Like, it takes a lot of hard work. And I think one of my favorite quotes that I've ever heard, I think it's from Prince, says it takes a lifetime to become an overnight success. And people don't realize all of that work that goes into just all of a sudden there's this company around that everyone's talking about. And, oh, I wish I had that. You just got to put in all the work.
Yeah, 100%. And again, I'd like to think that given the access of information, there's just I realize it's not ubiquitous, but just a better appreciation that it takes a lot
I
to.
think there is, but I also think on the flip side of it too, there's a lot more awareness on the pressure that's on founders these days. And so there's a little bit more forgiveness within the market, I think, of early stage founders, and not expecting them to be the Walmarts, the Apples, the whatever of the world, right? I know you've got growing pains, and I know you're doing the best that you can, but we like what you're doing. We like your solution, and we know we appreciate that you're giving us a discount because it's going to be more expensive in the future. And so I think there's definitely more awareness on it, but there's more awareness, I think, on the market side, that we just need to take it easy on startup founders a little bit.
And it is a challenge, 100% agreed. And so with that, let's talk about infrastructure and putting in a foundation that can scale. What's been your experience? Have you bootstrapped everything to date, or have you gone out and done any outside finance?
We're mostly bootstrapped. We've done a little bit of financing through grants and some convertible notes and whatnot. I do want to raise money at some point, but that's a big debate. And you could find answers on both sides, whether it's better to bootstrap or it's better to raise money. A lot of people think, I'm going to raise money and it's going to take all my stress away. Well, it takes that stress away, but it adds a whole new level of stress.
Well said.
And as a founder, your stress is never going to go away. It's just going to change. And I could hop on my LinkedIn right now and see posts about people bragging about how bootstrapping is the only way to go, and then people saying how VC money is the only way to survive. So it's really about finding the balance for you and what you ultimately want to do with your company, right? Do you want to build, if you want to build a company that you're going to sell in 3 years, 5 years for 10, $15 million, then bootstrap it. If you're doing software, it's harder to bootstrap because you need so much infrastructure behind you. But it's really, I think it just depends on your vision as a founder of where you want your company to go. If you want to build a big company, then you need the money behind you, I think. But if you're just looking to build a product that you can get to market, get some success and sell it, bootstrap it as long as you can.
And so on that note, have you used or established, even if it's just in your head, any milestones as to the point where you're going to say, hey, all right, I'm at a fork. Let me make a decision of whether or not I want to go supercharge this with some outside venture capital dollars.
Yeah, actually, we've had some early success with some clients on some smaller deals. And so we're confident that we're at the point now that we can go to the market and tackle some large enterprise clients with some hefty contracts. And so we're actually in conversation with a couple of different organizations with some of those 100, 200K contracts. And landing one of those is going to be a turning point for us of, okay, we got this contract, it's going to give us a little bit of money, but we're going to need more. And so whether it's through a loan or angel investors or pre-seed investors or at some point VC, I think for us, it's that landing that big contract will be proof that we've taken it from a point where it's been an MVP and proving concept to this customer is serious and they're going all in on us. And so we need somebody to support us there with some money for just the back end support that it's going to take to do that.
And we were talked about services as software and then making good on enterprise level contracts. People are essential. What's your philosophy on attracting and retaining staff?
That's what we do. I think it's important, like for attracting and especially retaining staff is about building the relationships with them. So you need to be building relationships with people before you're ready to hire. And it's the same as sales, right? Talent today are job shoppers. They're not job hunters, they're not job hoppers, they're job shoppers. And same as if I buy an applicant tracking system or I buy a piece of financial software, if it's not doing it for me, if it's not solving my need, I'm going to go find another one that'll do it. And people are the same way with their careers, right? If this career isn't ticking the box that I needed to tick, I'm going to go find somebody who's going to do that for me. And candidates are doing a lot more research. Different things mean different things to different candidates. Like some look at what the corporate social responsibility of the company is. Some look at the leadership. Some look at what their values and beliefs are. It really just, it's all kinds of different things, right? Do they have time off, benefits? There's so much that comes into factors there. But same as, selling an enterprise level contract to a large organization, it's the same thing with staff. Like you need to get in early and start building a relationship with them, build trust with them, provide value to them first. And then once you have them on board, you need to onboard them properly. And then you need to maintain a relationship with them. If you bring on an enterprise level client and you say, great, thanks for your business, we'll talk to you in a year when your contract comes up for renewal, like they're just not going to stay, right? And it's the same thing with staff. If you're not constantly, how's it going? What bugs are you seeing in the system? How can we help you solve those? What are the upcoming challenges that you have in your life that you think are going to be problematic? How can we help you solve those? And you do that kind of stuff for an employee, they're going to want to stay with you because it's not just about having pizza parties and pool tables and stuff, which don't get me wrong, no one's going to say no to a pizza party. But at an individual level, what's important to you and what are some of the things that we can help you to do to be successful in your life and be happy in your life? So it's really, I see hiring onboarding and retention the same way. Like it's the same process as we follow with enterprise level sales. We got to do this. It's the same thing.
I love it. You're walking the walk. Curious whether or not you've gotten to the point yet, though, where you started giving stock options or equity to staff.
Um, to advisors, of course, not to staff yet, but we have it earmarked for sure. It's, I think of key positions like our next CTO, our VP of sales, our CPO or chief product officer, like some of those key positions for sure are going to need some stock options or equity, but it's definitely, we've got it earmarked. We've got it as a plan, but we just, as a company, we're not there yet, but it's definitely, I think, an important strategy.
Credit to you that you're thinking about it and also prioritizing it relative to other expenses. A complete side note, it doesn't happen as often, but we've onboarded new clients where I've seen that founders may have spent a disproportionate amount of money on legal expense. And I'd argue a bit prematurely until the point where they know they're at something that resembles product market fit. So I'd say kudos to you for at least knowing that it's on the table, but you're waiting to pull the trigger when the time is right. Brad, great podcast. A lot of good insights in here. As you reflect back on the journey so far, what, if anything, would you have done different?
That's a good question. I think one thing that I wish I'd have done differently, I went all in on this business right from the get-go. That comes with a lot of pain, a lot of personal financial pain, things like that. So making sure that you're taking care of yourself and your family as a founder is important. And when money comes in, you have to be really careful with what you do with it. And we haven't always made the best decisions in that regard. Having good financial advice or somebody you can go to and lean on. Most founders are not financial experts, or legal experts or anything like that. So having the right team around you that you can reach out to, talk to, and bounce ideas off of and things like that are important. And really just do what you have to do to get some customers on board early and make their needs work and try to learn from it. We did a lot of just try to give it away and see if we could, and that works if you've got a real product-led growth strategy. But if you're an enterprise level company, that doesn't work because the people that you're dealing with that have to invest so much time, if there's no financial stake in it, then they won't invest the time to make it successful. So that was definitely some learning that we did. We wasted a lot of time with trying to do free accounts, and just you learn from all of it, right? You have to be okay with making mistakes because you're going to make a lot.
I think a lot of great insights there. And unless someone has been a founder before, it can be really difficult to appreciate the amount of stress, as you pointed out, that comes with the role. And so having an outlet, whether that's exercise, volunteering, where you can take your mind off of it, 100%. It's been my experience as well. I have my routines, and if I didn't do them, I probably wouldn't be, what's a good word, whole.
Yeah. And it can be, that can put a stress on your family too, right? Because you're not the one bringing in the money because you're trying to build this company, but you're the one that's trying to go out and have fun, and you don't have the money to do it, but you need something to be able to step away that isn't family or business related. That's just I'm an outdoor guy, right? So I hunt and I fish and stuff. So just being out on the lake or being out in a river or being out in the woods by myself, getting together with the family or friends at the camp that night kind of thing. It's just a way to shut off and enjoy life for a few days. And you always come back clearer. It helps you to pull all that stress down and be able to think about your business a little bit better, a little clearer, a little bit more energy. So it is important, but maintaining that balance within the family is important as well too. Sometimes it creates just as much stress as it relieves, but it's worth doing.
Yeah, there's a analogy I found as a good parallel, and that is if you think about going to the gym, absolutely possible to overwork a muscle, and you have to rest in order to give that muscle an opportunity to recuperate. And I think that it's the exact same here. There's so many things to do. You consistently put in 60 plus, 80 plus hours a week, unless you take a chance to just step away and reset, it can have a negative effect in either the ability
Absolutely.
forest for the trees or other. Brad, thank you for the podcast. If there's anyone who's interested in potentially becoming a member of the CandidateHub team or a recruiter or potential investor, I would love to talk to you. How can they find you?
My email address is brad@candidatehub.io, or I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me either place. I'm usually pretty easy to track down, and I'm open to conversations with anybody at any time. It's funny, when I started this business, so if you're listening to this podcast and you're thinking, I'm afraid to reach out to this person and open up a dialogue, one of the first things I did when I started Candidate Hub was there was a company out of Glasgow, Scotland called Candidate ID that was doing exactly what I wanted to do. I had a few different ideas and a few different visions than Adam Gordon, who was running that company. But one of the first things I did was I reached out to Adam and said, I want to build a company just like yours. Are you open to having a conversation? And he said, absolutely, to his credit. And he's been an ally ever since. So I pay that forward. And so if anybody wants to have a conversation about any topic, reach out, brad@candidatehub.io. Would love to chat.
Shout out to Adam. Brad, thank you and appreciate you making yourself available to our audience. Folks, Brad DiPaolo, founder and CEO, CandidateHub. This is another episode of the Innovators Investors Podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Kristian Marquez here. Thank you so much for listening to the Innovators and Investors Podcast. If you're a successful founder or an investor who would like to be on the podcast, please visit podcast.finstratmgmt.com/podcast-guest. If you've got something out of this interview, please share this episode on social media. If you know someone that would be a great guest, please tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag Innovators and Investors. I'd love to see your posts and suggestions. We're regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you catch each new episode, please subscribe to the Innovators and Investors Podcast. And your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show, and it means a lot to me and my team. Would you like to know more? Go to our website, FinStratMGMT.com, or follow us on LinkedIn or on X. Our handle is @FinStratMGMT. This is Kristian Marquez. Thank you for listening. Until next time.